On today's show, we'll be showcasing the journal Frontiers in Allergy. It's a high-impact, innovative and compelling medical journal which deals with the mechanisms and etiologies of allergy in different organs. It also concentrates on the management of allergic diseases across the entire age spectrum, from childhood to adulthood. We'll be meeting its field chief editor and hearing expert opinion from a board member of EUFOREA. This is EUFOREA News broadcasting from London. Hello and welcome to EUFOREA News. I'm Dr. David Bull and welcome to our second show of July 2022. The management of allergies and allergic disease represents a societal challenge as a result of the increasing numbers of patients who are suffering from hypersensitivity conditions. Allergy as a term appeared a little over 1 century ago. In that time, allergies have evolved from rare conditions to one of the most common and costly epidemics of our time. In a minute, I'll be talking to Professor Glenys Scadding, who is a EUFOREA board member and EUFOREA Rhinitis Expert Panel Chair. She is also Honorary Associate Professor in the Department of Infection and Immunity at University College London in the United Kingdom. I'll also be talking to Professor Nikos Papadopoulos, who is Professor and Head of the Paediatric Allergy Department at the University of Athens in Greece. And he's also Field Chief Editor of the journal Frontiers in Allergy and past President of the European Academy of Allergy and Clinical Immunology. The treatment of allergic diseases is complex and includes lifestyle measures preventing exposure, pharmacotherapy and immunotherapy. Allergic diseases affect many different organs and therefore involve a wide range of specialists. They also present in very different ways with a very wide diversity of allergy phenotypes. The speciality is evolving rapidly and the journal seeks to communicate the latest findings and research to its target audience. Well, joining me now from the United Kingdom is Professor Glenys Scadding. She is a EUFOREA board member and the EUFOREA Rhinitis Expert Panel Chair. She's also Honorary Associate Professor in the Department of Infection and Immunity at University College London. Professor Scadding, once again, it's wonderful to see you.
It's wonderful to see you too, David.
So let's start at the beginning. These novel guidelines from EUFOREA have been extremely successful. So tell me, why do you think that is?
Well, since we put the guidelines out a year ago, and these are the Pediatric Allergic Rhinitis Guidelines, we have had on Frontiers in Allergy over 16,000 views, more than 94% of Frontiers papers. And they are coming from all over the world, particularly the UK and Brazil. And I think they've been so successful for a variety of reasons. The first is that allergic rhinitis is becoming more problematic. As climate change happens, pollen seasons lengthen, and with more CO2 in the atmosphere, there's more germination and more seeds produced, and more pollen in the air. So people are in trouble. The second reason, I think, is that they are an up-to-date guideline. And that was needed because there have been advances in the field, including things like intranasal use of both topical corticosteroid and antihistamine in a combined spray. And that is more effective than either component alone. And I think another reason is that people have finally woken up to the fact that allergic rhinitis is more than just a blocked, sniffy, runny, itchy nose. It affects quality of life very considerably, and it has profound effects on the ability to sleep well. Now, if you can't sleep well, you can't think well. And if you're a child at school, you do less well at school. It's even harder to get to school in the first place because you don't want to get out of bed. But when you do get there, you don't do as well. And then when exams come, you don't get the grades that you were expected to get because of your allergic rhinitis. Now, here in the UK, nearly all our major exams are taken at the height of the hay fever season, meaning that something like 1 in 4 of our teenagers is disadvantaged because of hay fever. So I think there's sort of a composite of reasons why people have wanted to look at these guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, that reach is really extraordinary, actually. Were you surprised by that? I mean, obviously, all those reasons you give are very good ones, but were you surprised by the reach?
Yes, a little. It goes, everywhere, including China and places where you might not expect an English written guideline to be looked at. But I think one other reason is that EUFOREA is already educating the world. With our masterclasses, we do them twice a day, in the morning for the eastern part of the world and in the evening for the western part of the world. And we do have thousands of people watching, again, worldwide. So I think EUFOREA is becoming synonymous not only with Europe, but with global activity.
Which is an extraordinary accolade. Now, EUFOREA's Allergic Rhinitis Pocket Guides and treatment algorithms for adults and children were really the first of their kind to address the complexity of care for this disease. But it is only one step, isn't it? So tell me, what else is EUFOREA doing to foster a better understanding of allergic rhinitis among the physician community and indeed the patient communities as well?
It's a good question, and EUFOREA aims to act via education, research and advocacy. Now, at the moment, we're mainly doing education. And as I mentioned, we have masterclasses in spring and autumn. And at the moment, we are preparing for our autumn one. And it's going to be on 3 Tuesdays, each week apart. And we have a distinguished set of speakers. And on the 3rd Tuesday, those speakers will gather in a panel for a panel discussion and will answer questions from the audience, which can be sent in via the computer. As far as research goes, we would like to do more research in this field, looking at how our patients are feeling and what are their needs and problems and whether the guidelines are helping with these. And we're going to be applying for EU grants to try and do some of this work. And then that will be followed by advocacy, looking to see where we can help patients. And one area that I think might be extremely relevant is the use of allergen-specific immunotherapy in more children, because this is the only treatment that alters the course of disease. And I've seen many children go from having seasonal rhinitis with allergy to pollen to having year-round problems with other allergies developing to things like house dust mite or to the pet cat, and then finally developing asthma. Now, there's a good possibility that that chain of events in some children can be interrupted by giving them allergen-specific immunotherapy early on for their pollen allergy or for their initial house dust mite allergy. And we need to look at that evidence, and if it's good enough, then I think we need to advocate for more of that happening in order to reduce the burden of disease further down the line.
Well, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Glenys Scadding.
Thank you, David. It's great to talk to you again.
And you can find those allergic rhinitis pocket guides that Professor Scadding was talking about on the euphorea.eu website. Well, joining me now from Greece is Professor Nikos Papadopoulos. He is Professor and Head of the Paediatric Allergy Department at the University of Athens. He is also the Field Chief Editor of Frontiers in Allergy. Very good to see you, Professor. Thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you for calling me.
So let's start. Perhaps you could just start us off by telling us a little bit about the journal and everything that it encompasses.
Well, Frontiers in Allergy is a new journal obviously in the field of allergy. It is within the family of Frontiers journals, and there are several characteristics around that, which I think is important. Frontiers is a relatively new but very dynamic publisher. And Frontiers in Allergy has started just a couple of years ago, and it is one of the most dynamic journals in the field. It has already more than 1,000 editors. So it is a journal that has the intention and the ambition of becoming an important player in the field.
So, Professor, it sounds, as you, in your very words, it's very dynamic, it's innovative. But tell me, what are the unique aspects of this journal, Frontiers in Allergy?
Well, several of the unique aspects stem from the fact that Frontiers as a publisher has very important tools and a very nice structure. For example, we have artificial intelligence-based technologies where they help us with pre-processing and quality control, and this facilitates the downstream process so that the reviewers and the editors have a little bit less to do in terms of hands-on time. Then something which is important is about the reviewing process, which after a stage is interactive, which means that the authors don't have to reply just once or twice to some unknown reviewers. They have an interaction, they collaborate in order to make the paper optimal. And then, of course, is the structure of the editorial board, which is truly community-based. The intention is to reach all aspects of the discipline. In the same way, we have collections of articles about topics which are really very important at a specific moment. We call them research topics, and this is really very well received. And this is on top, of course, of the core model of Frontiers, which is open access, which we support very much. Really science that would reaches directly the community in a very high quality and very rigorous way. So in total, Frontiers in Allergy is a high level and ambitious, mostly friendly journal, and this is open to support the scientific discourse.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth, actually. I was going to ask you, what are the ambitions taking this forward? Where do you see this journal actually going in the future?
Well, there is no doubt that we aspire to make Frontiers in Allergy a distinguished journal in the field. And allergy as a field is very dynamic. It has very good journals. They're high level. And we have the ambition to support and host the best aspects of our discipline. So we see the journal as a forum, and we want to incorporate a variety of perspectives. We don't want just to support whatever is in fashion. In fact, we want to challenge this. We want to provide new solutions and innovative alternatives. We see a deeper interpretation of the data, and we want to promote generating hypotheses, new hypotheses. And also we want to promote new methodologies, methodologies that can explain better what's happening in the real world, which is a current challenge with many of the studies. So we want to translate findings from the basic aspect to nearer to the patient. And of course, as I mentioned before, I can see Frontiers supporting the community, initiating collaborations, and at the same time, serving patients. Of course, I mean, we realize that this is a long trip. It's a long way. We just started a couple of years ago. As I mentioned, it's just got into PubMed. We're looking forward into getting an impact factor soon. And these processes take time, but of course, it's really very optimistic, the fact that we have been among the fastest growing journals among Frontiers in the last couple of years. So we hope that we will manage to get there.
Well, very many congratulations indeed. I wish you a great deal of success with it. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Nikos Papadopoulos.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this second EUFOREA News Show of July 2022. Many thanks to my guests, to Professors Glenis Scadding and Nikos Papadopoulos. It's really been fantastic to hear more about the Frontiers in Allergy Journal, its aims and its aspirations. Now you can find more information about EUFOREA and register for the EUFOREA meetings on the euphorea.eu website, where you can also sign up to receive the latest news via email. Our Twitter address is @EUFOREA. And don't forget, you can find the pocket guides to adult and paediatric allergic rhinitis on the EUFOREA website. Until next time, goodbye.